Hey YouTube, what's going on? Something really cool today. We are doing a full one-to-one replica issued by Full Moon Entertainment, the company that actually made the films, of one of their most popular franchises, the principal piece from those films, the BloodStone. We're going to talk about this, a little bit of history on it, and I just can't wait to show it to you. Let's cue the intro.
Behold, my stuff.
Oh man, Full Moon Entertainment. If any of you are in your 40s and you grew up like I did, one of the joys was to go to your local VHS video store, or if you had them long enough into the DVD era, go back into the obscure back part of past the new releases, past the popular rentals, and they may have split them up by genre. Go back into the horror zone, start looking alphabetically, and just start mowing through all the crap movies you were never, ever going to see. And the crappier your video store was, the more obscure and random the things they got. And I remember the first time I found the Subspecies films, and at the time, there were 4. And we were very into that. So we were all about Subspecies, and it was, Andis Kove, who plays Radu. He's the principal protagonist in all the films. Well, he's the antagonist, but he's the protagonist in 5, but he's the antagonist in basically all the films. I guess you could argue he's the protagonist in 4. They turned into, in the same way that Jason is the bad guy and Michael Myers is the bad guy, but they're their movies, so they're like the protagonist. That's basically what Radu is. Radu Vladislas is the principal vampire bad guy, but that's what Subspecies is about. Radu and the BloodStone. So, in the same way that I love Evil Dead, I love Subspecies. All the films were directed by Ted Nicolau. So much like Sam is responsible for all of Evil Dead, Ted Nicolau was responsible for directing all of the Subspecies films, 1 through 5, and the Vampire Journals offshoot. Charles Band, who is the head of Full Moon Entertainment, came up with the idea for Subspecies, and so he's executive produced all that. So those two guys have pushed Subspecies through the years from 1991 all the way to June 2023 when 5 just came out. So it's really, really interesting because much like Evil Dead has gone through, so many different incarnations over the years, the BloodStone, which is in all the movies, changes every damn movie. And I don't know why that is, with the exception of 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 were filmed at the same time. What's great about the Subspecies genre is they established very specific rules about how vampires work, how masters and their fledglings work, how consorts work, how travel and needing blood and things work. So they established that lore very early on in 1. The BloodStone is a device that contains the blood of all the saints, and it can sustain a vampire because it bleeds infinitely. So if you drink from the BloodStone, you not only get knowledge and power, but it satiates you in such a way that you don't need to feed on humans. That's what this is. This is the BloodStone contains the blood of the saints, and we're going to dive into a closer look with this. In the first movie we see it, it doesn't have these teeth that come up, like these fingers that look like the fingers of Radu. The second movie, very much the cradle that the BloodStone is in looks like this. So 2 and 3, this is what this looks like. And I'll put some of these pictures over here. But in 1, you can see it looks like this. Yeah, it's there, it does its thing, it's fine. 2 and 3 look like this, and that is very similar, like the way that Evil Dead 2's Necro is the Necro. Evil Dead 2's BloodStone is like the BloodStone that everybody knows. And then when we get to 4, they just had this completely different interpretation of it. It was very odd. I didn't quite care for that one. And then when we get to 5, that's this. That's what this is cast from. So this is a Lineage piece off of the one they did with 5. It looks very similar to 2, except that we know for a fact it's not as skinny as the one in 2. But one of the defining characteristics of the BloodStone was that it looked like it was a stone within a stone. So it was glass inside glass. It had like a bubble in it. So that's basically a short history of all the different BloodStones. So this is cast off of the one from 5, and the reason they can do that is that Full Moon Entertainment released this. They own it. They own the props. They own all the likenesses and everything. So instead of licensing it to somebody else, they put this out themselves. This particular piece is really cool, and it's limited to 300 pieces. It comes incredibly well packed. I'm talking like cut foam. It's well done, man. The Bloodstone itself, like I showed you, is removable. The homunculi are removable. The base is it's like a stone. It's like a plaster base. It's what those like sideshow collectibles come in. It's not resin. It's got a weight to it. There is a magnetic connection so that the thing attaches magnetically. And then the Bloodstone itself is a three-dimensional prop, and it does have a USB port in the back, USB-C. It has a button, and it has a little battery port on the bottom, which I'm going to paint and color so that way it doesn't look like that. But it lights up, which is a really cool effect. It also has, inside the glass, it has swirls, so it looks like there's a blood/flame effect, which is in correct continuity with the Bloodstone itself. And it does sort of have this tongue-like shape, and we're going to look at it a little bit more up close later in the video, but you can see that it sort of has like a weird nipple look to it, because what Radu does is he sucks on the end of it profusely. Like he's really like, and it's kind of obnoxious, but he really sells it. And Anders is one of those guys who's like all in, and he definitely sells it when he's in it. He gives 110%. So let's talk about why it comes like this. First of all, there's these little guys. These are the homunculi, and these little guys, which are a little smaller than they appear in the movie, these guys serve Radu. This pose that you see is actually the cover of the VHS and the DVD and the movie poster. So this is a very iconic recreation of a very known pose from Subspecies. So they didn't just give you a Bloodstone. They gave you a recreation of the most iconic picture they have of the Bloodstone. If you know the picture, then that's how you know this. Even if you've never seen the movie, you may have seen the cover in the VHS store or in the, the rental store or what have you, or you've seen the movie poster. So that is in and of itself an extra step, which is pretty cool. It's just next level that they would do that. And so including this base is so great, and we can take off the homunculi. And on the bottom of the base, it's got this text on the bottom, which reads, 2023 copyright, Full Moon features, all rights reserved, made in China. Which it is. So that is just, again, one of those really cool things where, now I gotta remember where these go. It doesn't just come with that. It comes with a set of instructions, which, it's just a printed card, which shows you how to put the thing together and maintain it. But the thing that I thought was really interesting, which they didn't need to do, but they did, is they include one of these. These are interesting for a couple of reasons. If you don't know what this is a certificate of authenticity, what's also known as a COA online. People don't use the full phrase anymore, they just abbreviate. These used to be issued with anything that came from a studio or a VFX department to let you know that it was authentic. It would be a card stating what it is, usually with a photograph of what it is on the card, and then the person issuing it would sign it. A copy of a signature is irrelevant and has no value. So if anybody said they'll Xerox a COA and give it to you, that's of no value. Literally none. The actual signature lets you know that this is a really real thing. This has a signature both from writer-director Ted Nicolau and Charles Band, the producer and the executive at Full Moon. So that is really kind of cool because you get Ted Nicolau and Charles Band's autograph for one, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't think it's weird that they gave you a COA. This is a limited numbered run of 300, but they didn't number the COAs. That to me is interesting. I don't know why they're not numbered. Because if you're only planning on doing 300, you think you'd number them so they would have distinct value. The fact that they didn't tells me that they are absolutely willing to do more if people want them. So I think that's actually a little tattletale that they're not limiting this to just 300. If people want these, they'll put this out again and do more, which I am all in favor of. I think everybody should get one. But the box, like I said, it comes in is really great, really easy for transportation. Let's read the back. It says, from the highly regarded Subspecies series of films, Full Moon Horror is proud to present the latest in our one-to-one screen-accurate prop replica line, the BloodStone. This high-quality prop replica is cast from the original special effects BloodStone molds used in the movies and is an exact one-to-one replica of the BloodStone. The BloodStone is made from high-quality materials and features a special magnetic display base and 3 metal subspecies figurines, the homunculi, holding the BloodStone upright when placed on the base. Additional features include an internal battery-operated light-up function. The BloodStone can also be powered via USB cable if you want to use it like a nightlight. Also includes special COA signed by producers Charles Band and director Ted Nicolau. Contents include 3 LR41 batteries, USB cable, instruction sheet, COA. Subspecies, the BloodStone, and the distinctive Subspecies logo, copyright 2023 Full Moon Empire, Incorporated, all rights reserved, made in China, fullmoonfeatures.com, and then all the little logo things you need to know. So the box and everything, it's not uniquely numbered. They could make 500 of these and we would never know. So I always thought that was a little bit of an interesting thing, because usually when you get a limited run replica, they're numbered, and this is not numbered. But they did say on their website it was limited to 300, and whether it is or it isn't is irrelevant, because I think its value doesn't change with that. If you want to do a Radu, now you can. It's an extremely easy costume to do once you pull off the fingers, but now you can have a BloodStone and go around and say your favorite lines, I will give you 3 drops of the BloodStone. You should fear me too, for I am a monster. You can do all the great Radu lines, and if you can make Radu splooge face, it's even better. He has the best splooge face. Nobody can make that face but Anders, so, but if you want my honest opinion, if I had to score the thing, I would probably give this, in terms of a one-to-one prop that you can buy and what you'd want for it, it is a 3-dimensional prop all the way around. It does have the button on the back. I would prefer that to be on the bottom so that it hides, so that you will not see that little piece of it. I could also sculpt a piece that goes over it that I can remove out of latex or something, so that way it hides it a little bit, so it loses a little points for that. The base gives it bonus points. The fact that it contains 3 homunculi, a magnetic base, you can charge multiple ways, you have easy access to the battery. The flames could have been cheaply painted on or something like that. Instead, they're swirled into it. So overall, in terms of prop replica, this definitely in terms of quality is 9.5, 9.7 out of 10. I just don't like the button placement in the back. I almost would have preferred the USB factor be connected to the base and you only light it up when it's on the base. I understand why it's not, but that's the only gripe I have with it. And I would like to show you what this looks like up close. So why don't we now, 20 some odd minutes into this, take a look. So as I said, it contains the 3 homunculi. Now let's take a really good look at these guys. The face looks really good on these. These are obviously smaller than the stop motion puppets. So I don't know if they had the team go in and resculpt this. The gentleman who sculpted the originals, I believe he passed away. But this is a really good recreation of these little characters. My big thing that I wonder is, were they 3D scanned maybe, or 3D modeled? They are metal, so they were die cast, and you can tell that they're poured from the feet. The faces all look the same on all 3 of them. I don't know, but I will say that their inclusion is pretty cool. They're not the most sturdy, and they're a little rickety, but that's sort of the beauty of old school metal and die cast and whatnot. So again, the base is well detailed, has a nice wash on it. It's painted well, it looks good. No complaints on the base. And you can see even without the BloodStone on it, it's a nice little stand. So very, very cool. And again, if you're into the homunculi, all the better. I was never a huge fan of those guys, so if I want to display it, I would display it without them if I cared, but seeing as how it looks just like the movie poster, I don't care, so I'll leave it. So as I mentioned, the contouring of the BloodStone is very, very solid. So I don't know if this was cast in a bib, and they just poured the resin into it and let it cast out. I would love to take this apart and see, but I'm not going to. But as you can see, the fingers of Radu, they have that bronzed aging look, though it's a little flat. It lacks a little bit of that metallic shine, that it has a little bit of a waxy look to it, and so it feels almost like it had a flat coating with a semi-gloss over it. So I don't know if I would change that. Maybe add some more metallic glisten to it, or matte spray it or something, but I'll probably change that over time when I decide how I want to change it. But it has a wash aspect. It has a nice depth to it. You can see that the pieces are three-dimensional, so it doesn't just flat hug the thing. So this was the cradle that this sits in is a pretty good piece, and if you really look in, you can see not all these pieces were cast one solid piece. Some of these were inserted separately, so interesting where you see some seams here and there, but like this little guy was not part of it, and this guy was not part of it. So the two back ones aren't, but these three front ones were. And then when you try to look for another seam, you don't really see one. Underneath, you've got that little piece there, which we talked about, and that's where you get your batteries, so that's fun. And if I take that out, I bet you I can see what's going on under there. And then you have your button and your USB port in the back, and it's a pressure button, so once you pump it in, it's on, and once you push it again, it's off. And you can see the swirls really do take shape. Now, again, I mentioned that double-layered look. That's very, very accurate to the films. They all had that sort of double-layer look. And as I said, even though they drink from the BloodStone, all they ever did was coat the top of it with some red goop, and then it would dribble off and make it look like it was dripping blood, but none of them really ever did, at least that I can remember. It's been a while since I've watched 4. 4 is a tough watch. So the piece is really good. As you can see, you know, it fits well in hand. And it is, you know, three-dimensional, has the profile that you want, has that nice distinctive top. It's not the first BloodStone thing they've put out. There's been magnets and things like that, but this is the BloodStone. I mean, if you were going to shoot your own Subspecies film, this is the BloodStone. This is what you see in 5. Yeah, really, really well done. And again, the artwork on the box is glorious, recreating that cover. Full Moon's logo's on it. The box in and of itself would make a lovely backdrop. There's several versions throughout the box where you could cut it up.
Upside down.
And display it. And then, of course, the COA, which is fantastic, and it even has a little homunculi down here. Really cool. So, I think it's pretty cool. Overall, like I said, about a 9.7 out of 10. Really, really high quality prop. I think it would be a really good seller if it was cheaper. I think they would sell more than 3 times the amount if they cut the product down a third in price. So I think they would get a better ROI total and make more money if they did it the other way around. But we'll see. We'll see how successful they are. But if you like Subspecies, I think you should pick one of these up. Okay, so that's the BloodStone. Didn't really deep dive into everything Subspecies. If you guys want to have a more broken down history of the BloodStone and what it is and all that, and talk more Subspecies, let me know below. I'd be happy to make another video on it, kind of going over what Ted Nicolau's Vampire Universe is, what Charles Band's Vampire Universe is. But you can go on Amazon Prime and watch them, Subspecies films. Check them out. 1 is interesting, 2 and 3 are alright, 4 is a tough watch. Vampire Journals is my favorite one. And 5 is a really good film. I think 5 is actually a good film. I would recommend checking out 5. The cool thing about 5 is you won't appreciate all the Easter eggs, but if you've never seen any of the Subspecies films, 5 will still make sense. You could actually start with 5 and go backwards, which is kind of cool. So give the films a watch, support Full Moon Entertainment if you are a fan of their work or if you're just finding them. You can find them at fullmoonfeatures.com, and they sell things directly on their website, including their Blu-rays and things like that. The Subspecies have all been remastered on Blu-ray, so if you are a physical media person, you can buy them directly from them as well. I recommend checking them out, like I said, and as far as one-to-ones go, this is very encouraging for what the future of one-to-ones are for prop replicators and prop collectors like myself. So you're never going to own the real BloodStone and get that off of Ted or Charles' shelf, but you could get it off of their website, and that's good enough for me. Thanks, guys, for checking it out. Some cool stuff coming up. More stuff on a diorama I've been working on, and we're going to do some shorts coming up, showing off just random little props I have that I've never really showed off before, so keep an eye out for those as well. If you can't build it, buy it. If you can't buy it, build it. Sometimes to get the best, you got to do both. In this case, you just need to buy it.